Right. Now pay attention. 2 machine guns fixed.
Synchronized to what?
Hello, James Bond aficionado here, back at it with another debriefing. Today is someone you may have seen up in Japan or Portugal, all the way up at Schlitthorn, Pisgloria, calling all the way from the Netherlands. Let's welcome Martijn Mulder of On the Tracks at 007. Martijn, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's a real honor, and I'm gracious that you accepted my invite to come on today.
Not a problem. I love doing this. So.
Martijn, let's talk about your introduction into James Bond.
My introduction, it must have been in 1980 or 81, I think. I'm born in 71, so I must have been 10 at the time. And it's a funny story. I've told it a lot that my dad was in trade. He always came home with stuff that he picked up on the road, and at one point he came home with 2 cardboard boxes filled with VHS cassettes, which he had bought from an illegal video store that went bankrupt, and he just bought the inventory. So he got all these VHS cassettes, and they were copied films. Just no covers, just the simple boxes with a movie in it. And it was, I think, 200 films. And one of those films, there was actually only one James Bond film in it, and that was Moonraker. So that was the first Bond film I ever saw. So I still have, even though it's definitely not the best Bond film, I still have a weak spot for Moonraker. But it's that was my introduction.
Wow. I take it you've had a hankering to go to Rio ever since, huh?
Yeah, Moonraker, I often think about that. Moonraker really is a film that goes all over the planet. Mm-hmm. Venice, and there's Brazil, and it goes all over the place. So maybe that sparked my interest.
Oh, right. So what motivated you to start On the Tracks at 007 for the people that are out there listening to this?
I just like history in general, and I like going to places where something historical happened. That could be anything, from the last place where Napoleon slept to places where films were made. And I think at some point I got this book called the James Bond Films that was written by Stephen J. Rubin, and it was behind the scenes stories of the Bond films. And it had little information about filming locations, and I think that started it. And at some point, I got to traveling myself, and started combining family holidays with these beautiful places, because that's it. Bond always goes to the most beautiful places. You don't end up in the slums in India or something. So it's always the nicest hotels, the most beautiful beaches. So it's very easy to tell your girlfriend or wife or whatever, come join me, we're going to this place, So that's how it gradually evolved into what is now On the Tracks of 007. Because I started making stories, I wrote down all the information, and I took the photographs. And that's how that came about.
Yeah, and you're going on 25 years now, if I remember hearing correctly.
I was there very early on the internet. It was one of the first James Bond related sites, and it was just a one-page site, one big long list of filming locations, no images or whatever, and people found it and started sending me information as well. So that's how I got involved in the Bond fan world, because there's still people I have contact with from the early days. just actually quite nice.
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy to think, like I said, it's been 25 years for you. And it looks like it's still going strong. And my next question is, let's talk about some of the memories that you have of all these Bond locations that you've been to.
Well, the funny thing is that it has changed a lot. You know, when I started, that was almost before the internet, and whatever the internet was, it was still like this big. So nowadays you can just type in Moonraker filming locations, and poof, there it is. But back then, you know, what I used to do was I put on one of those VHS video cassettes and played a film, and then paused it at certain points. And I took my old-fashioned camera and I took photos of the TV. And I had these photos developed, and with these photos, I started traveling. I went to Istanbul, for instance, and we had all these photos of mosques and alleys and streets, and we were just showing them to taxi drivers. Yeah, do you know where this is? And sometimes they took you to totally the wrong area, but every now and then there was somebody who knew, and that's how I found a lot of those older locations, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet. So which ones would be your most favorite, do you think?
The most the best memories I have are from the locations that were really difficult, or I was the first to get there. Or so, for instance, what was very difficult to find was in Istanbul, the place where Tanya works as a cipher clerk, the Russian embassy thing, because that's a bit away from the center, and that was a fun place to find. But also from on Her Majesty's Secret Service, the place where Bond gets married, where the wedding is, that house, and with the Bull Arena, that was a lot of fun, and that took me a long time to find that one. And when I got there, I got in touch with the lady who owned the house, who lived there, and she said, well, are you here? Are you a James Bond fan? I've never ever seen a James Bond fan here, you know. And that's when you think, yes, wow, that's cool. And I was the very first to be there. So those are good memories. And one of my favorite locations, and therefore also best memories, is on top of Blofeld's volcano in Japan. That's an amazing location. That was an amazing location, because the volcano erupted a couple of years ago, and there's not much left of it, I suppose.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize, yes, a lot of it is staged, but a lot of it still does stand to this day. And you did write a good piece on your blog on the track's website. We need to salvage all of these movie locations, which is very important to today's society, which I really loved about what you did on that. So I absolutely have to agree with you on that. Today's history and movie locations need to be salvaged as much as possible. And like you said, that volcano erupted a few years back, and unfortunately it's no longer there.
The volcano itself is still there, but it just looks different. So but yeah, you know, there are some houses privately owned, which it would be a shame if they were sold and turned into hotels or whatever, and would be totally changed. So yeah, there should be some protection. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the 50th anniversary trip you organized for You Only Live Twice in Japan and on Her Majesty's Secret Service in Portugal, Switzerland. What were some of your favorite highlights of those trips?
Japan is just a wonderul country to travel to. That's my personal opinion, because it's such a, it's safe, it's clean, the people are very friendly. So I love that country, and it was fun to go there with 40 people and to guide them through through Tokyo, for instance, through the subways, and try not to lose anyone. That was a real challenge. So that was a highlight. But what's most interesting is that after a while, these people become some sort of family. You know, you're just a great group of people who constantly you meet each other at events around the world, and that's what makes it great, I think. And yeah, you know, Portugal was great to be there with George, which was of course very special. And at some points, you know, it was almost a nightmare to get everything organized and to arrange everything. But in retrospect, it was well worth it, because it was amazing to be on a 10-day holiday with George Lazenby. That's absolutely unbelievable. So he was a great sport, and he played along real well. And also the other guests, everybody was really interested in and they really wanted to be there, and so that was good.
Well, that's fantastic. And that leads me to also my next question. Now, you have been introduced to actors like, you know, George Lazenby, for instance, Terry Mountain. What are some of your favorite memories with them personally?
George is just George, you know, the way he was in 1969. I think he still is. He almost died as a kid, and after that, he sort of approaches life and in a certain way that he just does whatever he wants, and he still has that. And it was very easy to see the problems they had with him in 1969 during the filming. It was easy to understand, because he's just, you know, he looks at all the women, he makes strange remarks to people. That's just who he is, and you can't really blame him, because he just enjoys life, and that's George. So that's George. And then you have Terry, who's totally the opposite, and who really stands with 2 feet on the ground and embraces people, and embraces all the fans, and wants to take photographs with you. And so they're 2 different personalities, but they got along real well. They're friends. So.
Yeah, and I love how the fact that you try to recreate the beach fight from the opening sequence, and then of course, yeah, continue.
I wanted to say that was something we really wanted to do, or that was one of my ideas that I really wanted to have happen. So getting Terry there was not so much a problem, but getting George there was you know, it was a challenge. But he was up to it, and he had heard that Terry wanted to do it as well, real bad. So he just did it for Terry, because, you know, to have fun there on the beach. And it was a terrible day. The winds were terrible. So we were sandblasted on that beach. It was really awful. But they just went up there and they did his thing. And the funny thing with George is that he doesn't remember that much from the filming. He doesn't remember that the certain things he did. I handed him a shoe on the beach, you know, and I asked him, I said, can you say, with the shoe in your hand, can you say, this never happened to the other fella? And he's like, why? Yeah, and a lot of other locations where we were as well. He just looked at us and he said, what did I film here? So it was, for us, that was really hard to understand.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. Do you think it may be old age, or do you think it has to, or do you think it's a sign of like a health condition developing, or?
It's what we tend to forget is that we've seen that film like 100 times.
Yeah.
And we know all the details.
And he's just playing it off like, oh, what?
He made that film 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And if I ask you, what did you do 50 years ago? You're probably not going to, well, in your case.
I'm not going to be able to answer, unfortunately. I'm only 30.
What did you do 30 years ago? You're not going to know.
No, I barely even remembered the other day, to be frankly honest.
Exactly. So that's I think that's mostly it. You know, for us it's so special, and we really know all these details about the films. And he made a lot of other films as well. So
Yeah.
this is not all he did.
No, and that was his first major role, and if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, that was his actual first movie he
Yeah.
did. Like he had to convince Cubby and he had to convince Harry, and of course, from there it just took off. We're going with you.
I think he did a good job. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think if I remember hearing you with your interview with Joe and David that you said it's your favorite. I have to agree with you.
Yeah.
It's Thunderball is my personal favorite, but if I'm really gonna go number one out of all 25 movies, since we haven't seen No Time to Die yet, but
Yeah.
it's number one easily.
Yeah. You know, the top three, and you must also have that. The top three Bond films that changes every now and then. It depends on your mood and uh, you know. But yeah, On Her Majesty's is definitely always in the top three for me.
Well, and you got to look at it from this perspective. It's changed in so many
Yeah.
people's hearts over the years, and I think it really does help with the Daniel Craig films.
True. Yeah.
So, and of course, it has Barry's best score.
Yeah.
So that's
Very
my
good.
personal opinion.
Yeah.
Also, can't leave them out. What about working with Q the music? I heard the performance they did at Piz Gloria was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Share some insight on that.
I asked Warren to perform in London at our 20th anniversary, on the tracks of 007 20th anniversary. That was just before the Spectre premiere in 2015, and I heard that they were pretty good, so I got in touch with him and I asked him if he wanted to play there. So that's how we know each other, and they were already pretty good back then, and already impressed everybody then. But this time they really blew everybody away because they've grown so much, and they have become such a professional group of everything is right. You know, the sounds are right, the details are right, and they really played they played a 20-minute On Her Majesty Secret Service suite, like all these tunes from the movie, and it was just amazing to be at Piz Gloria with George Lazenby sort of next to you, and then hearing that music. That was surreal, and they really did a great job.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and yeah, I know there's videos out there of them singing up there. I know there's videos of the Pinewood event out there as well, and
yeah,
of course you attended both, so it's like hearing the music even more up in live in the Piz Gloria setting. And of course, when I think if I heard correctly, also you were starting to get a little emotional.
Yeah, absolutely, because it just gets to you. Like I said, it's so surreal that and for me, it was even after all these months of preparation for the event, and then suddenly everything fell in its place, and they performed, and it was wonderful, and I really, I really had to dry my eyes every now and then. So it was very nice, very good.
That's amazing. Now, I don't know if you can share any on this, but you now have Bond Week rescheduled for November. Could you share any insight on what people can expect, or any minor spoilers?
Well,
besides the locations?
Well, we ourselves do not know what to expect. That's a bit of a problem.
That is true.
Because, will we be able to do it in November? And will there be any premieres in November? We don't know. The film might come out, but maybe there won't be any red carpet premieres. So I honestly don't know what to expect at this point. We were just happy that I was just happy that we could reschedule it and do not lose all the money that was involved, because that was a tough thing. But now we just have to wait and see. As soon as everything becomes a little bit more normal in everyday life, I can start planning together with the French, and we can start adding little things and asking some guests, and so hopefully it'll be good.
Before we hop into any rapid fire questions, do you have any thoughts on No Time to Die's trailers or any predictions for it?
Well, the trailer is actually the only thing I've seen. I haven't been reading all the fan thoughts and all the info that people post. So I'm pretty blank about it. I love the trailer, by the way. That was very good. That awesome motorcycle jump. I loved it. So it looks very good. So I just hope it's going to be a great film.
Absolutely. Now, before we hop into some rapid fire questions, let's hope that the coronavirus is all cleared up.
Yeah.
Diamond's 50th. Is it going to happen? If it all clears up.
Yeah.
All right. That answers that question. All right. Favorite movie from all 6 James Bonds? So one from like Daniel, Roger, Sean, and of course, George.
One movie from Russia with Love. Now, Honor Majesties, of course. Moonraker. License to Kill. GoldenEye. And Casino Royale.
Okay. Least favorite from
Sorry?
the 6? Least favorite from the 6?
The favorite James Bond?
Least favorite from all 6 of them.
The least favorite?
Yeah.
I think Timothy Dalton.
Okay. Why is
Not
that?
sure why. He just doesn't do it for me.
Okay. Favorite car from the series?
I'd have to say the Lotus. The White Lotus.
Okay. Favorite gadget?
Favorite gadget? It's got to be the is the Aston Martin. Is that a gadget?
No, that's totally fine. Which one though?
It's one huge gadget. Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah.
Okay, which Aston?
The DB5.
From which movie?
Goldfinger.
Okay. Favorite soundtrack and track from that film?
Oh, my favorite soundtrack, I think, is Honor Majesties. And the favorite track from that film, I think when they approach Pete's Gloria. Well, I'm not sure what the title of the track is, but when you see the helicopters fly and the sun setting, and that's my favorite.
It'll pop in my head one of these days, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about though, but it'll be like, oh, that's the name of it. Yeah. Favorite location you've been to?
Japan, volcano. That's.
Favorite henchman or woman and villain?
I think it's gonna be Fiona Volpe from Thunderbolt.
Okay. One location you want them to go to, but they've never been.
That's a good one. GoldenEye. It's not really a location, but the GoldenEye house. Ian Fleming's house. I've never been there. And that's one of the things that's very high on my list.
What direction do you want to see them go after Daniel Craig is done with James Bond, and who do you want to see casted?
Oh, I honestly don't know. I'm not so much into the new actors, and so I couldn't really tell you a name. And it's probably going to be somebody who we don't know, as they usually do. And what direction? That's a good question, because I haven't got a clue whether they're gonna reboot it again, or it's probably going to be some sort of in the same line as the Daniel Craig films, the more serious tone, because I don't see them go back to the View to a Kill or Moonraker style films.
No, and I don't either, unfortunately. I think those times are definitely past, and I think
Absolutely.
the Daniel Craig era is here, and it's here to stay. And
Exactly.
that's how a lot of the spy movies to this day are.
Exactly. And it's the same. It's the same with somebody was writing that today or yesterday on Facebook about the sets. You know, the Ken Adams sets. You don't see those anymore in films, and we're never going to get that anymore, because people are they're doing everything on the computer, and you there's no need for that old-fashioned type of creativity.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Just because, yeah, it's per se not done anymore. Everything's digitally enhanced.
Yeah.
Same with CGI is all there, and
Just
it is part of the times.
Yeah.
So.
True.
Martijn, thank you once again for taking the time.
You.
I hope people will come support you from here on out, and I hope once COVID-19 passes, we will cross paths, hopefully for Diamond's 50th.
Who knows? We run into each other.
Or if you want to support Martijn, you can go to his website, On the Tracks at 007, buy his books, check him out on Facebook at On the Tracks at 007, Instagram, Twitter.
Yep.
I'm going to post a video after this. If you're bored at home, take part of his virtual reality. I highly recommend it, and share it to his Facebook page. I guarantee you he will have a great laugh over it. Martijn, thank you once again, my friend.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
With the world in total lockdown, these are challenging times for James Bond location hunters. You want to be on the tracks of 007, but sadly, you can't visit Japan, Istanbul, or Venice. What you can do is go to onthetracksof007vr.com, the ultimate virtual James Bond traveling experience. Ski down Piz Gloria, jump from the Eiffel Tower, get drunk in Jamaica, all within the comforts of your own living room. With our special VR photo feature, you're provided with unique Photoshop pictures placing you in the actual location. It's so convincing, it's better than the real thing. On the tracks of 007vr.com, putting the map on you.